Welcome, everybody. This is Abs, Anything But Sports.
Yeah.
I'm Sawyer.
I'm John, the co-host.
And I'm Allie.
Thank you so much for being here today. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of like how did you get involved in media?
So, I'm just a country girl from North Carolina that never rode horses before. But I just got into media because I was talking to my friend from here. She's also a violinist. And she was like, hey, apply for this movie. And I was like, okay. So I applied for it. I ended up getting it. And then next thing you know, it's like one background gig after another. And then I ended up in a production office.
So what's your end goal? Where do you want to be?
So now I definitely want to be in a more creative field. So the hair department, ultimately. Mm-hmm. So department head of hair.
That's awesome.
So Alex, you're unique because you are definitely our arguably most famous guest.
I'm not famous at all. Well, not really.
Why don't you tell our listeners how many followers you have on TikTok?
Ooh, like 45K? 45,000?
And Sawyer, combined, how many followers do we have on TikTok?
I think -1.
-1?
Yeah.
That's possible?
I think it's possible. They invented it for us.
Right.
Negative numbers.
The negative numbers. So tell us a little bit about that. What drew you to being a TikTok creator? How do you balance creating on TikTok with working in media?
Yeah,
Okay.
How did that get started?
So, funny story, kind of. Sorry. I started doing skits in Orlando, right?
Okay.
And it was like wild content. So I was playing the violin while I had my homegirl twerking on the car. And we're just sitting here playing hood rap music on the violin.
That's pretty wild.
So I started posting initially on Instagram, but I took pretty much a lot of my Instagram content and put it on TikTok.
Gotcha.
And I found that TikTok, the algorithm was like more catered to small creators. And I was like, let me see what I could do with this. Mm-hmm. So I kind of conjured up this plan to put out a lot of comedic / musical content. Mm-hmm. And it just started working out for me. Then I started going live and it just worked.
So do you think your content has changed or developed any since when you began to now?
Oh, yeah. So initially I started with doing music solely, and I felt like it wasn't getting that much traction because people have a short attention span.
Right.
So, you could have the best music out, but people are like, I want to see something funny. So they'll just scroll past you. So I started to add more of a comical sense to my videos, So from then to now, I was like a musical artist, and now I'm more like comedic crazy person.
That's so interesting. So what's something that you have learned about yourself, about your own personality through all this?
I didn't know I was capable of waking up at 5 a.m. every morning just to get ready to go on live and actually be consistent with it. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I didn't realize, I guess, how much charisma I had until people were like, oh my gosh, this girl is funny. I want to be her friend.
Wow.
So I was like, maybe I do have kind of a cool personality, I guess.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Have you always been a very confident person, or?
Oh no, honey. I was shy. I was a very timid soul, especially growing up. I mean, I'm from a small town, so, I was very shy, though. And then, the typical, I got bullied and stuff, so that made me even more reserved. Mm-hmm. But as I started getting on social media more and people were like, oh my gosh, a black girl that plays a violin, that's so cool. I was like a unicorn to them, And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I could monetize off of this. This is cool. And so I just started putting myself out there more. And during that time when I was first getting on social media, I was going street performing. I was literally taking myself out of my comfort zone and just you know what, F it, I'm gonna just perform in front of everybody and see how far I could go, you know?
Wow. Yeah,
And it's funny because this homeless guy, he seemed like he had nothing, but he ended up giving me like $100 that night. And he's like, from one artist to another. And he just gave me $100. I was like, wait, you have money like that? So, yeah.
That's awesome, though. That's super cool.
To me, it seems like that kind of confidence boost that comes from making social media content would have positive impacts in other areas of your life as well. I mean, surely to goodness, having that heightened sense of self-confidence has impacted other areas of your life.
For sure. I think when I was putting myself out on social media, it kind of like forced me to be more extroverted. Mm-hmm. So whenever I was going to try and finesse to get into different positions in the film industry, I'm like, okay, I can know how to talk to that person because I'm like forcing myself to be more outgoing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that is arguably the most important skill in the media industry is
communication,
networking, that kind of stuff.
Because you know what I find? I feel like people in the industry, they like have this underlying respect for people who can actually get their point across efficiently and be confident with it. Mm-hmm. So if you're going in there and you're like, what do I do? They're like, this guy is a joke.
Well, what are some other creators or artists that have influenced your work?
Ooh, it might be some artist you might not know because he's like a Greek composer.
Oh, that's okay. Sure. I'm sure so.
But yeah, I love Yanni. His name is Yanni. He doesn't even know how to read music, but he's like one of the best Greek composers ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you find out about Yanni?
Well, my dad, he was like obsessed with him and his music. And that's when I was first getting into playing the violin. I was in 6th grade. He showed me this video of this, of Yanni and his, what's it called? It's like this big Coliseum in Greece. But he performed there and he had this famous violinist named Karen Briggs. And she was so amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm not worthy. But, yeah, from there, I was like really inspired to play that.
So now, through the content that you make, what messages or inspirations are you trying to share to your audience? Like, what is important to you that you want to convey through your content?
I would say ultimately, I don't want to sound cliche and say believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. But if you bet on yourself, like the sky's the limit to what you can do. Because if you would have asked 19-year-old Alex, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I wouldn't say no Atlanta. I'd be like, probably at a call center. I don't know. But, you know, I'd say bet on yourself, trust the process, and have fun with it. Because at the end of the day, no one else is going to, like, bring you into a position of success as far as how you would do it for yourself.
How have you seen yourself progress in life using that philosophy?
Oh, a lot of times back then I would try to rely on my friends to help me with making content or help out with going to travel to make content. But I found that a lot of them weren't serious and, you know, people always are fugazi and, you know, cancel plans and stuff like that. So I had to really take the time and focus on what I needed to do. Once I did that, I got a whole lot done without a team versus like trying to build a team and have them do it with me. And I think it's kind of scary because like back then I was driving to Orlando by myself.
Oh, wow.
And I was going to these little performances at night by myself. So yeah, I think that's what I got from that philosophy.
So in media, whether it be social media or theaters, streaming, anything like that, what commonly gets left out of the spotlight?
Authenticity. Because I feel like a lot of people just follow trends instead of having authentic content, you know? Because I find, this is such a problem, especially on TikTok. You'll look at one sound and you'll see literally probably 1,000 people doing the same trend. And after a while, it's like, okay, what's new? What's next? And you see that in film too. Like a lot of the same concepts are just constantly repeated. Disney, what are you doing? Like The Little Mermaid 10th
Right.
edition.
Right.
Like get that out of here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, original and authentic content is hard.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easier, and you make more money by just copying what's already been done.
Yeah.
You know, why make a new movie when you can remake one that you know people are going to see for nostalgia purposes?
Yeah.
You know,
Avatar 2.
and it's just, it's so, yeah, I think it is really sad to see stuff like that. And that's why I think when creative and original content does come out,
It's like
it's huge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gets an immediate cult following.
Avatar 1.
it's like I think
Yeah.
about movies because I'm a huge Marvel fan. So I see like the same kind of progressive plot now, especially now that Stan Lee is dead. I feel like, you know, they just kind of took everything, copied and pasted to the new movies. But when I see things like there's a series called From on Amazon Prime.
What's it about?
It's like these people get caught in this old town and they can't escape it. They see this tree, they're trying to travel somewhere, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? So they go past the tree, and once you pass that tree, it's the point of no return.
Can't come back.
Yeah, so they're literally trying to drive around this town and get out of it, but it's just a big circle, like some type of weird paradigm going on. So at night, these people come out, ooh, and they're like, I'm your granny, or I'm your sister or brother, but they're really monsters and they will eat you.
So
It's
that's
scary.
an example of like an original
Original.
piece of media that you're enjoying right now.
For sure. Because every other episode, it was like, well, not even every other, but every episode, it was a plot twist somewhere. And you're like, well, Johnny was about to get out, but he got caught by that monster. I would have been out of there. But yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how original is your content? 10 being most original.
So I'd say a 9.
Okay.
Because-
Why not a 10?
I copy people sometimes. I'm guilty of that too. But I do make sure that most of it is my authentic content.
Do you think that your authentic content gets more views as opposed to that 10% that may be copying someone else?
It depends. It depends on how trending the content is. So let's say I'm doing a dance and it's just now starting to get trendy. I will probably make as much as a post that I did authentically and
Gotcha.
it gained traction.
Which type of content do you enjoy posting more?
I think kind of like the outlandish, relatable ones.
Yeah. We did some research beforehand. There are some pretty outlandish, relatable ones.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
like a personal favorite of yours that you've done?
One of them was like when your friend is driving you to your boyfriend's house, but you never told her the address.
What?
So basically,
Oh,
they were messing around.
I get it. Okay.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What do you value more? Creating the content or how many views it gets?
Definitely creating it. Because, I don't know, I get to have this creative outlet and express it to everybody who's following me and potential followers and stuff like that. So, I mean, I like creating videos and content anyways. Even when I wasn't getting the views, it was like, wow, I can actually express myself in a way that people can see and appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, people understand my humor,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I feel like it would be difficult for me not to start obsessing over the numbers. You know? So like, how have you dealt with that? Is that even something that affects you, or do you think?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because when I first started and I was like getting followers really fast, and this was back when I was doing more so on Instagram, I was so obsessed with followers and views and everything. But that's when the algorithm was different and you could actually gain like really fast. I literally had like almost a panic attack one time because I lost 5,000 followers. And I was like, is my content not good? Do these people hate me? Like, what am I doing wrong? I think it more so matters if you're losing money over the content versus if you're losing views.
Well, another thing that I find really interesting about your situation is, you know, you make all this online content, but then you're also working in a production office on, you know, features and movies and stuff like that. I mean, that's how you two met, right? Mm-hmm. You're both working on this movie. So what can you talk a little bit about the differences about working in media in person versus working in media in a digital space?
Working in the office, it's a lot more stressful just because I can't do what I want when I want. I have to follow these rules and guides, and I'm under somebody else. Like, this is somebody else's content, someone else's movie. But when I'm on TikTok, I'm like, yeah, hey y'all. Here's me.
So you eventually want to be in hair and makeup department. Mm-hmm. So like looking to the future, how do you think that career choice and your online digital presence are going to mesh? Yeah.
Well, it would be interesting to see a comedic hairstylist on the internet.
That's true.
I think like people will be like, oh, that's cool. She can make wigs from scratch and she's funny. Let me follow her some more and see how her journey goes. And next thing you know, I could be doing like, I don't know, a wig for The Rock. And they're like, oh my gosh, she met the you know?
The Rock does need wigs. That's
true.
He's got the perfect canvas.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I find the hair field really super creative. You can do so much with hair. You could change someone's whole identity just by the way their hair looks, you know? Mm-hmm. And so if you film that, people will be like, oh, I never knew that I could change this guy's identity through that. So I could film that and like have that as kind of entertainment, and that could mesh together well, I think.
So even like you're talking about double dipping, even, you know, doing both at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. So while I'm, you know, on set adjusting someone's hair, I could be on TikTok Live and be like, look y'all, I'm with Jay-Z. I don't know.
So after watching some of your TikToks, I personally think that your persona, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, your persona on TikTok is so different from the person that I've worked with. So do you think that's true?
I don't think it's different. I feel like it's just suppressed.
It's different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, like that.
So do you feel like you're more like open and relaxed on TikTok?
For sure.
As opposed to like bunched up, like I gotta be corporate when I go to work.
Because when we were working together, we were moving stuff. So I was in this masculine space, and I'm tired, and I'm like, oh, let's get this over with.
Which one is the real Alex?
The home.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your TikTok really shows your true colors.
For sure.
Okay.
And that's why people will probably look at my TikTok and be like, oh, she's really weird in real life.
Speaking of that, have you ever had like your TikTok interfere with like jobs, or like something like your boss be like, oh, I didn't know you made this?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say interfered, because you know, Doug saw me and he was like, I didn't know you played violin. And now he's telling everybody I play. So I think it was more so beneficial for them to see versus like interfering. Because I've had a couple of people reach out to me derived from Doug saying, hey, she does this. And it actually made me some money. So
it's helped.
Yeah.
The exact opposite. Okay. If you had to pick one, professional career outside in media or professional career on TikTok, which one would you pick?
TikTok.
Why?
Because it brings in more money. And it's fun. I could wake up at 4 and be on TikTok. Actually, one time I went 24 hours on live.
Wow.
And that was crazy. Like, I made so much money that day. Oh my gosh.
The first thing I can think of is, did you use the bathroom at any point?
Oh yeah, they saw me. Well, they didn't see me using the bathroom. But they were in the bathroom with me. And I was like, hold on. And I, did my thing. Came back.
That's
saw
Gotcha.
me eat.
That's when you got the most money that day, right?
Yeah. And it was interesting because you have like so many different people from so many different time zones tuning in. And I think the weirdest request I got was like, hey, what them feet do? Like,
You got that
and the
feet
guy
guy?
cashed out me $50 to see my feet.
What?
Yes. Yeah. It was so weird. But I mean, hey.
Okay, for any of our podcasts,
Yeah.
I will willingly show you either of my feet for any amount of money.
Yeah.
If you're interested, just send us a message.
And I mean, there's a lot of like weird requests I do get just based off of people watching.
What's
I think
the weirdest?
so. It is dealing with my feet.
Okay.
The guy, he saw me on TikTok. He DM'd me on Instagram, and he was like, "I have a request." I'm like, "What's up?" So he has this really extreme foot fetish, and he's like, "I want you to go in between your toe, like your skin and your toe and your nail, and go like this, like clean it out really good, and say, oh yeah, I don't know what his name was, Larry. Do you like that, Larry?"
What? Larry.
Yeah. But he wanted to make sure it was like in the tub, and I was doing that under the water as the water was like flowing down my foot. It was so weird.
You just named off 2 foot fetish examples.
Yeah.
Are there more? Like, is
Well-
this like an average thing for you?
It was at one point.
At what point?
Were
Were there
in
just like a
college.
few months? Oh, okay.
Yeah. To make,
Gotcha.
some extra bucks.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah. People are into some crazy things.
Man, how do we transition out of this now?
Speaking of feet, where's the furthest place away that you've ever traveled? There you go.
Good on.
There's your
Good on.
transition.
The furthest place, technically Germany,
Wow.
I-
Why
for
technically?
TikTok?
because I was born there.
Gotcha.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Well, my parents were selling drugs out there. No, I'm just kidding. They were doing military stuff.
Oh.
And,
okay.
yeah, I was just born there.
That's
I
cool.
only stayed there for like a year. So the only German word I know is 9. That's it.
So are you a German citizen?
Yeah, I do have dual
Do you have
citizenship.
dual citizenship? That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what about like when you were conscious and you remember traveling to a place?
Oh, I think Washington.
Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
What for?
Military.
Military.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was so pretty out there, though. It
Alright.
was very hilly.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood. So you've lived in a lot of different places?
Oh, yes. So I've been to Alabama, Kentucky, Florida, North Carolina, Washington, and yeah, that's it.
Wow.
But I spent the majority of my time in North Carolina.
Where's one place you would want to go that you haven't been to yet?
Ah, Greece.
Why Greece?
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Yes. I did a project on it one time in middle school, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be rich so I could go there. And the UK. I have a friend out there, and he's like the funniest guy I know, and I feel like every UK citizen has this like quirky sense of humor that I feel. I can
Yeah.
relate to,
Yeah.
you know? So, and the food is better. I heard it's like you could eat a lot of bread and not get fat.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The perfect life.
Yeah.
So do you imagine yourself staying in Atlanta long term?
I would say no more than 5 years. Because I do like it here. I feel like there's a lot of money, opportunity, and stuff like that. But I feel like in a couple years it's going to be oversaturated and kind of be like LA. You know how it's super overpriced?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to live here a couple years and then definitely move out the U.S.
Oh, really?
To
Yeah.
Greece?
Well, the UK.
The UK?
Yeah, I would love to go out there. And then after that, just travel abroad everywhere. I have this map actually at my house, and I want to put like pins everywhere I went.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be so cool. And by the time my bucket list is like fulfilled, I'll have hit like everywhere except for North Korea because we don't like them.
So, would you rather travel to every country in the world except North Korea or become famous on TikTok? Let's say,
Well,
but your
technically-
traveling was free. Let's say it was just for free.
Oh my
If
god.
it was free
Mm-hmm.
and I had to pick between two,
Yeah.
I think I would travel. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like traveling just broadens your whole perspective on life. There's so many different aspects in the world that you don't know, and once you come contact it, you might grow to love, you might grow to really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like America is just kind of one-sided.
Yeah.
And just the way people communicate abroad is so much more, it can be so much more friendly and like insightful,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I definitely would go travel abroad.
Well, we were talking with our last guest about perspective, just what you said, and how it kind of adds to, like, emotional maturity.
Oh, yeah, and emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Because you come to have empathy,
Mm-hmm.
like, on a broader scale. Certain aspects of life that you haven't seen, how could you have empathy for or, like, understand if you've never seen it or experienced it?
How do you think people end up in a place where they feel so much, better or more intelligent or better off than other people? Like, what puts people in a place where they would treat other people poorly?
I think there's multiple reasons. One is narcissism. They feel like, oh, I'm high and mighty. I was born into nepotism and I can do whatever I want because I've always gotten whatever I want. There's that aspect of people who started off from the bottom, came to the top, and since they were treated poorly, they're like, I can treat other people like that. And then there's people who aren't aware of it because no one's really told them or put them in their place. So I think like those multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel like a large underlying reason for people mistreating anyone is all self-esteem issue. It's the classic middle school bully, except now they're your boss.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they feel like they have to validate themselves. And
Insecurity.
Yeah, total
Definitely.
insecurity.
You know, I saw this video the other day and it was like men who are strong in power with money can do damage, but imagine what a weak man could do. And that goes, with men and women who come in power or get money. If they are weak and insecure, they can do a hell of a lot more damage than somebody who's actually strong and like, in position of power.
Yeah. So what has been your personal experience working in an industry that is historically and currently white dominated?
What do I think of it?
Yeah.
Or-
Well, what has been your experience? Yeah. What do you think of it? What are some things that you have noticed? Let's just start there.
My experience personally has been more so not really discriminated against. I've had a lot of opportunity, and I think it's equal opportunity. I know there's been a history of discrimination, but currently I feel like it's a lot better. Me and John were talking the other day, and he was like, well, it seems like there's starting to be more opportunity for us than probably for y'all because they want to make it more inclusive. But it's like a double-edged sword because one person is winning, but now y'all are getting the, bad end of the stick. But back then, it was like the other way around. So it just depends on who you are at the end of the day.
I think it's also maybe an Atlanta thing because Atlanta has a lot of locally based productions. And a lot of people in Atlanta are minorities. When I was in Chicago, the majority of the people I worked with were white. And it was just coming down here, it was just a complete opposite of the people that, and we talked about this, the people that I worked with.
Shoot, even when I came down here, I was shocked at how many black people
Yeah,
were here.
yeah.
And they were just like everywhere. There wasn't really a lot of mixture. And I come from North Carolina where the military base is. You got Indians, Italians, like Dominicans, everybody's there.
Just those three.
Well, everybody. But it was very, very mixed up, very inclusive, and it was a culture shock for sure when I came down here. And I'm like, oh, it's just black people. Okay. Hey, what's up?
What do you think are some areas that still need improvement?
I think black actors should be paid more. A lot of times you'll have, like, for example, Scarlett Johansson. She made like $50 million from Marvel versus Chadwick Boseman.
Mm-hmm.
He made about $20 million from Black Panther. So you see, like, that's really super off. I mean, she's a phenomenal actor, but who pulled in more views? So I think there's a little underlining, like, discrimination there.
I feel like, apps like Instagram and TikTok that allow content creators from any background to create whatever they want and post it. I feel like that has had an impact as well on bringing awareness to different talents, different, styles of creativity and talent, different backgrounds, different races, minorities, all that kind of stuff.
For sure. Because it's shed light on the underdogs. Bringing that into mainstream media has been like a target, like a super good target that they hit,
So kind of on a broader note, as we maybe start to think about closing out this conversation, how would you define success for you?
I think it would be two things, career-based and spiritually based. So being able to have a career or monetize off of a skill that I actually really enjoy and make a super comfortable living off of it. That would be one thing for me. Mm-hmm. And because I feel like these are so two equally equated, I want to add the second one, which would be spiritually, like just having that solid relationship with God.
How do you think, has your definition of success changed over the years? Do you think that it's evolved in any way?
For sure. I think if you would have asked me this 5 years ago, it would be, I want to have a mansion with 10 bathrooms and 20 bedrooms. Mm-hmm. But now I look at it more so like, okay, how can my success and comfortability in this space contribute to helping my family? And what am I telling to people who observe me? Are they looking at me like, and not saying that what people think matters, but I think it is vital for you to set in stone a positive aspect in life. So are they looking at me like, oh, she's kind of mean? I mean, she's pretty and she's funny, but in person she's mean. Or is it more like, oh, wow, she actually is a person with substance?
Yeah, so it's hitting that balance of not really caring what other people think, but you do want to be aware of what you're putting out into the world.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. So, if you had to pick one word to summarize up our entire conversation here today, what would it be?
One word. Deep.
Why?
Deep.
Deep because I feel like it hit a little bit more interpersonal in certain things that we talked about and discussed.
All right, well, to our listeners online, thanks so much for listening. This has been ABS, Anything But Sports.
Anything but sport.
We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.